You ask what a death cult is. I mean, in a way, I put the title on democracies and death cults. I put it in clear um, antithesis because I believe they are absolute opposites. We've seen many death cults in history.
This is Douglas Murray talking about what is a death cult in regards to Israel. You want to listen to this video, stick around for the whole thing on impact theory. Let's talk about it after.
What is a death cult very succinctly?
Firstly, I don't mean the book to be unrelenting. I think I try to relent a bit at various points. I certainly try to finish by the end on a somewhat positive note, which I feel it's not faked by any means. Uh, on democracies and death cults starts with the morning of October the 7th, because for me, several things happened that I thought were enormously telling, and that's why I spent most of the last year and a half in the area covering the war in Israel, Gaza, Lebanon, elsewhere. I've also been in Ukraine and so on. But it's largely about the Israel-Gaza war because when the news started to come out from Israel on the 7th, having reported from there and been there many times, I was first of all, of course, horrified by the things that were coming out. I secondly knew that this story of what had happened, the murder of 1,200 civilians, the kidnapping of 250 civilians from Israel by Hamas, was going to be passed over quite swiftly because the world media, for various reasons, tends to like to talk about Israeli retaliation more than they do the thing that's caused Israel to retaliate. But I was aware from 24 hours after the massacre, firstly, that I needed to go to Israel to get firsthand what had happened. But secondly, I became aware that there was going to be something going very badly wrong here at home in America and in other Western countries. And I knew that because I had a glimpse of it in Times Square on October the 8th, when the massacre was still going on. And I went down to Times Square because there was a protest, a pro-Hamas protest, an anti-Israel protest that was glorifying the massacres. And I thought, okay, get ready. This is going to get a heck of a lot worse because this is before any Israeli reaction to the atrocities had even started. You ask what a death cult is. I mean, in a way, I put the title on democracies and death cults. I put it in clear antithesis because I believe they are absolute opposites. We've seen many death cults in history. But what unites them is they do not share what many people in America and the rest of the West assume is the natural predisposition of mankind. Ask your average college student, do people in the world feel roughly the same everywhere and want the same things? And they'll say, yes, of course. Everyone in the world basically wants the same thing. And my inclination, having traveled very widely in the world, is to say, whoa, hang on there. Many people want different things. And the more you travel in the world, the more you realize that. But the thing that I write about here is something which many people, most people in the world of peace simply cannot comprehend. And that is that there are some people who literally not only do not value life, but literally worship death. We have seen this many times before in history. In the 1930s in Spain, a great Spanish philosopher of the era, Miguel de Unamuno, who wrote the book The Tragic Sense of Life, gave a lecture at his university in which the Francoists, the fascist students who he was trying to pull back from the brink, resist his attempt to civilize them and end up chanting Viva la muerte, long live death. And Unamuno leaves and dies shortly afterwards, an extremely disappointed and disillusioned man, as he says, this necrophilic chant, long live death. Well, Hamas, like Hezbollah, is a similar death cult. Its leaders, its members, literally have spent decades saying, we worship death, we love death. They say, we love death more than you love life. The now late leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, said for years, the great weakness of the West is that they love life, whereas we do not. We love death. And The fact that that exists is an extremely troubling and difficult fact, and it's a particularly troubling and difficult fact for Israel because it happens to have neighbors who have this view.
Really fast, is that definitionally born of Islam? Or is this just an algorithm that can be tripped inside of the human mind?
As I hope I showed by giving the example of 1930s Spain, it is something that can be created for many, many different backgrounds, many directions. It can come from the left, it can come from the political right, it can come from the poor, the rich, the advantaged, the disadvantaged. It can come from absolutely anywhere. But in the case of the death cults that Israel faces, Hamas and Hezbollah and their backers in the Iranian revolutionary government in Iran, it obviously has its origins in a very violent, the most violent and most appalling version of the Islamic faith, which is the jihadist death cult that, yes, believes in martyrdom, that the highest value in life is to die in the cause. And indeed to take other people with you, to kill and to die in the name of the cause. Some people may think I'm exaggerating this. I'm not at all. I mean, I give example in the book of the Hamas leader, Ismail Haniyeh, who was living in a luxury apartment in Qatar. He gets the news that his 3 sons, who are also Hamas leaders, have been killed in an airstrike in Gaza. And he's absolutely joyful that they have been. Much of the Western mind cannot comprehend how any father could be joyful that his sons have all died. But he is, because he believes that they have died in this cause. And I believe that this is very, very hard for the Western mind to comprehend. The people in the south of Israel who stared this in the face, literally, on October the 7th, they know what this is now. I don't think many other people in the rest of the West, in Western Europe or North America, do understand. But there is this follow-on question, which I spend much of the book meditating on, which is, why are there so many people in our own midst who want to excuse or to promote or to even admire the death cults? And I think this is a very, very important question for us to ask, because we should have some ability, as we were saying earlier, to have the zones of agreement. And the zones of agreement should include not supporting the deliberate rape of women.
I couldn't agree anymore that it should just be a general consensus that there should be no support of those who are endorsing the idea of just destruction and death and violence and despair and more of that to achieve your goal. If you ever come across a political entity, a religious entity, any deep radical ideology that has a fundamental principle of just hijacking despair in their region or bad things happening to use as propaganda and then leverage that to call it a resistance movement, you should ask yourself, what have those leaders been saying since the beginning of this so-called crisis? Because if you go back into the 1900s, into the 1800s, if you go back to many of the Arab leaders, so-called, who would talk about what they want to achieve with their Jewish neighbors, it isn't peace, ladies and gentlemen. It isn't prosperity. It isn't a nice fence that we have in between each other where we get along. It's destruction. It's literally just the destruction, a death cult against Jewish people. How can we continue to allow it? Especially after the 1930s and 40s. Especially after the leaders of Hamas clearly state what their intentions are. All of them. There isn't one moderate Hamas leader out there. There's no such thing as a moderate Hamas leader. You can't be moderate in Hamas. You can't be moderate in Hezbollah. You can't be a moderate version of the Ayatollah or anybody that works under him. You can't, because you'll get killed if you don't believe in what they're trying to achieve. That is sort of the point. It's a death cult against Jewish people in Israel, and it's a death cult internally amongst themselves if they aren't on board. Period. Thank you so much for all your support. See you next video. If you want to continue the conversation, you can support my work for free. Discord does not cost a thing. It is the best way to connect with me and others who are seeking the truth. The link is. But if you want to take it one step further, my Patreon gives you access to the Israel you don't see, uncovering the untold stories of what mainstream media does not show you. The link is in the description, and it helps me to continue this work. Or if you're just looking to help this thing go, PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee is a really easy way to support me. This channel, this work does not happen without all of you. Thank you. I love you. I'll see you next time.